How to enable PXE boot and install Windows deployment service role in SCCM. This is part 14 of SCCM home lab that I started a little while ago. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up PXE boot and then also add the Windows deployment service role on SCCM server. There are basically going to be 3 steps for this. In the first step, I'm going to install and configure WDS role on SCCM server. In the second, I will enable PXE support for the clients on distribution points. And in the last, which is the third step, I'm going to configure DHCP scope option to support PXE boot. Step 1 and step 2 are going to happen on the server SCCM01 that I created in my part 3rd of this video. And then step 3, which is the last step, is going to happen on domain controller, which is DC01. So one might ask, why do I need to set up the PXE? And what is the purpose of the PXE and then Windows deployment service? Basically, this enables you to be able to deploy the images to the machines that are either new, like a brand new, out of the box, and it does not have any kind of operating system installed on it. And then you could actually deploy, you could just plug it into the network and it is now visible to PXE, and you could deploy the image to it. Or sometimes what happens is that, let's say that there was one user in a company that returned an asset and it needs to be re-imaged. And instead of just going through and finding a boot disk and trying to boot and install the custom image on it, it could be plugged into the network and then simply re-imaged. There are certain conditions that need to be met in order for this to work properly. In my home lab, I mean, this configuration could set up on so many different levels, so many different ways. But on a very high level, all of these machines kind of need to be on the same network. So in my home lab, that's how I have it set up. I have a domain controller, DC01, SCCM01. These are 2 different servers, and they are connected to the router. And then any new machines that I'm going to bring into this environment, which I'll show you the demo on how to deploy a image via like using a PXE. So anything that is going to new that will come into this environment or in this lab, it will get connected to this router, and then obviously it would be on the same network as these 2 devices. So let's move to SCCM01, and I'm just gonna get started. Just in case if you are new to my channel, I'm Bibi, a software engineer who love to share the knowledge. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please go ahead and subscribe so that you could get all of the future videos notification. I'm going to log into SCCM server, which is SCCM01. And then you could just go to simply server manager. The very first thing that I'm going to do is to install the feature, which is the WDS. Click on manage and then click add. Next, role based or the feature based installation. Click next. Select the server, is already default, so you could just leave it as is. Click next. And this is a server based role. Just go and look for Windows deployment services. which is right here. Check it. Add feature. Click next. And next, leave everything default. Leave defaults, click next. Make sure both of, because deployment server and the transport server are going to be the same. This is going to be this, everything is going to be only on this server. In certain environments, you could actually put them in a different roles to on two different servers. But for this lab purpose, I'm just gonna keep it right here. Click next. Install. So this should take about, give or take about a minute or so. So I'm just gonna pause and come back once this installation is completed. All right, installation succeeded successfully. So you could click close, and you could see there is an alert over here to that the installation was successful. And next, just go to tools. We need to now configure, as you can see right here, Windows Deployment Service features is available. It's available, but it is not configured yet. So we still need to configure it. So in order for it to configure, just simply go to tools and look for Windows Deployment Services. Click OK. It's going to launch it, and you could actually look at right here. And that's the warning that you are seeing. Basically is saying that the Windows Deployment Service is not configured. So in order for you to configure, right click, configure server, click next. This is going to be a standalone. We are not doing anything with Active Directory. That's kind of a little bit more advanced. So I'm just gonna go with a standalone server. Click next. This is where the remote install, all of the files basically are going to exist. So ideally, it is a good idea to put them on a separate location. So that's why I am going to put it on a different drive so that it is not on the C drive. If I put it on the C drive, first of all, I don't have enough space for the images and everything. But secondly, that I don't want the C drive to be too busy, which would also get the SCCM kind of run slow. So I'm just going to change only a drive letter, which is S. By the way, this is I did configure in my previous videos for storage. Anything images related, all that kind of stuff I'm storing here. Is images, packages, even patches, all that kind of stuff. I'm storing it on the S drive. Click next. So select respond to all client's computer, known and unknown. Basically any requests that are coming, Pixie is going to respond to them. You could check require administrator approval for unknown. This is to have a much more better control. Let's say that if there is somebody that comes into the network and they just try to boot through the Pixie, you don't want them to be able to grab your image. This would give you alert in the SCCM console where you would have to approve it. For lab purpose, I'm just going to leave this one as is, unchecked basically. Click next. This on this screen is basically asking me if I want to add the images to the server now. I'm not going to, because I will configure it through the SCCM console. Click finish. So there you have it. Install images, boot images are gonna come here. Pending devices, pre-stage devices. That's how WDS is kind of structured. So let's say that you want to change any other setting that you selected. So simply just select the server, right click it, go to the properties, and then this is where you could just go and make those changes again if you need to change anything. You would obviously need to just do a little bit studying on this, what these are. This would get for a beginner. You just need to know where they are. Just don't worry about it. Leave everything as is for now. So this is part one of this video. I'm just gonna pause it just for a second, and I'll be back, and we'll move to the part two, which would I would basically enable the Pixie using the SCCM console. All right, I'm just gonna close this. Then I'm gonna launch SCCM console. That's where I'm going to now enable Pixie. That's the step two that I'm going for, which is enable Pixie support for client on distribution point. Click on admin, site configuration, site, I'm sorry, distribution point, my bad. Admin, distribution point, select the distribution point, the one that you want to enable the Pixie on. As you could see right here, Pixie is no, which means it's not enabled. Right click, go to properties, select Pixie. Actually, the very first thing you want to do is make sure the boundary groups are also added. So as you could see, my default boundary group, the one that I had created, is already added here. If you don't have it, then you need to add those boundary groups. Then go to Pixie, check enable Pixie support for clients. Now this warning is that in order for Pixie to work, ports, which is 67, 68, 69, and 4011 needs to be open. So if you are setting up this on a different server than the standalone server on SCCM server, then you will need to open those ports. On this server is going to, since this is SCCM server is also on this one too, so the system itself will open up those ports for me. So click yes. Allow this distribution point to respond to incoming Pixie requests. Check that, yes. Enable unknown computer support. Yes, you want to do this because let's say that any machine that has never been into SCCM, added to SCCM, then it would respond to those. If you don't do this, if you look at the default SCCM collections, you are gonna see there are two machines that are automatically added. Those are the unknown ones that anytime, whenever any machine gets onto it, they go into that collection. So make sure if you are bringing in new machines that has never been added to SCCM, this check mark needs to be enabled. Otherwise, the Pixie would not respond to those requests coming from unknown devices. This one, the next check mark, enable Pixie responder without Windows deployment service. This is an awesome feature that was, I believe it was introduced in SCCM 1806 feature update. Basically, what you could do is you could run the Pixie even without Windows deployment service, which is a good and is a huge benefit because now you really don't need the server, because in order for you to run the Windows deployment service, the machine needs to be a server grade versus workstation grade. So you could actually take any Windows 8, Windows 10 device, just a normal, like a step down kind of a workstation, and install now Pixie on it, and it would be a Pixie responder. That is a very, very good thing, and it's a very big and huge cost saving. I'm going to leave that one unchecked because if you check this one, it basically goes and disable the service that is for Windows deployment services, and it creates a different service name where it operates on. Uh, this only one feature can probably I can go and create one whole video around it, but for this demo purpose and for this lab purpose, I'm going to leave this one unchecked. Next one is required a password when computer use Pixie. Um, this is a good function. Like let's say that if some of your users in production environment wind up booting through the Pixie, the process would not go through. Instead, the process is going to prompt them to enter the password. If they don't have the password, they would not be able to move forward, which can prevent accidental re-imaging of the machine. So just it's an extra precaution. So you could just for this my lab purpose, I'm going to uncheck that one. User device affinity. This is basically where you're giving the permission to the user if they could affiliate themselves to that device. You could allow user device affinity with the automatic approval and leave it. Here, I'm gonna leave the default respond to Pixie request on all network interface. But let's say that if you want to allow only certain type of machines or certain amount of machines that could come and basically get the response from the Pixie, you could request that one and add the MAC addresses for those machines, and then it would only respond to those requests where or whatever whenever the MAC address is going to match. It's a good feature, but you're not going to use it for the in this lab. I'm not going to use it, so uncheck it. Everything looks good here. Apply, refresh it. All right, so I did refresh by pressing the F5 key, and you could see Pixie is enabled now. Next, I'm going to log into the domain controller and configure the DHCP scope option real quick. So just I'm going to minimize SCCM01. Launch a server manager. Go to tools, click DHCP, and then if here I'm going to show you how to actually I'm going to show you where the DHCP scope is. This one I had set it up in I believe video number 2 that is about the Active Directory. You could see the link up top on the corner of the screen. You would need to set the scope up if you already have not done it. But if you are already following this series, you should have this already set up by now. Go to once click on the scope, right click. I'm sorry, just a sec. Scope options, right click, and configure options. We just basically need to add 2 options here. One, if you just scroll down all the way to 66, here you need to put the value which is either a host name or the static IP address of that server. I'm going to go with the IP address, which is 192.168.0.221. Just do remember, this is the IP address where you are setting up WDS. In my case, it is set up, let me show you, on the SCCM server. And let's verify one time the actual static IP address. So as you could see the IP config, that's the IP address for the SCCM server. That's where I have configured the WDS to. So make sure that's the IP address, or the name of the server is fine too. Apply. And then the second one you're going to do is boot file name, which is number is 067. Check that one. And this is where you need to put the path of the boot file name. So the way you could get it is go back to the WDS server, which is SCCM server in my case, and you are going to browse to remote install. Make sure that this is the folder that you configured when you were setting up the WDS. In my case, I put it on S drive, and the folder is remote install. Go one folder deeper and go to SMS boot X64, and the file that you are going to look at it is WDS and the Bibi, right? This one here. So the path basically is going to become like something like, let me copy it here. Something like this, because it already knows whenever you populate that area, it already knows where to look for the remote install. So all you need to do is just put the two subfolders with the file name all the way to the end. So I'll just copy and go back to the DHCP server, enter this, apply. That's it. So this concludes the configuration of DHCP scope option to support PXE boot port. This also concludes the whole video, which is about enabling PXE boot and installation of WDS role in SCCM. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to deploy the image using the PXE. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you liked the video. If you have any kind of questions, feel free to leave in the comment. I would appreciate if you will give a like to this video if you liked it. And if you didn't like it, hey, dislike it, not a problem. Thank you. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Peace.